Welcome back to Dominant Mets Nation. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're a big Mets fan, like and subscribe because we love our Mets on this channel. Today, we're going to be getting into a little bit of Pete Alonso and a recent article by Anthony DiComo stating what the Mets have already decided to do with Pete. All right, I'm just going to say right off the bat, I think a decision on Pete and what we're going to do with him for the offseason and beyond is a little preliminary. We have to remember, pump the brakes, folks. David Stearns just got here, all right? And anything that he intends to do with Pete Alonso is very delicate. This is a cornerstone piece. This is a homegrown New York Met that a lot of the fans are very, very attached to. Very attached to. All right, so we don't truly know what David Stearns intends to do with Pete Alonso. But we're going to go through an article by Anthony DiComo, and Anthony's going to give us a little bit of background about what the Mets may be doing. Okay, so let's get into the article. So it starts off by saying the New York Mets and Pete Alonso continue to have contract talks during the offseason. Now, according to Anthony DiComo, Alonso will not be traded this offseason. DiComo notes that Scott Boras and David Stearns recently met. It's uncertain if extension talks were spoken about at that point. Okay, so we kind of just let him know when it comes to the polar bear, we're not in contract hibernation, Boras said. That's kind of odd because Boras is notoriously known for not talking about a contract until the guy's a free agent. So that is actually very, very curious. This is telling me that Pete really, really wants to be a Met. Or this is also telling me that Pete's worried. Pete may think that, hey, is David Stearns a Pete Alonso guy? Is David Stearns going to go in a different direction? And I think those are very good questions for, Mr. Pete Alonso to have because you don't know. You don't know the direction David Stearns is going to go in. And the loyalty there, since David Stearns is an outside organization guy, he has no loyalty to Pete Alonso, unfortunately. We love him as Met fans. He's a guy that we would like to break all the Mets records. But if David Stearns sees more value, let's say, hey, Pete wants a $200 to $250 million contract, and David Stearns like, hey, that $250 million can go to another guy who can play offense and defense, a guy who's not going into his 30s, a guy who can possibly pitch and hit and maybe has historic value like Shohei Otani. Okay, that's wishful thinking, but that $250 million could be part of a bigger contract or could go to another player with more value. You just never know. That's why I find those comments interesting that Boras made about we're not in hibernation, because where's that coming from? In my opinion, it's coming all from Mr. Pete Alonso. Okay, so the article continues. This is good news for the Mets, as Boras is typically tough to work with. He will do whatever he can and wait as long as he can for his clients to get top dollar. With both sides already in discussion, this should be a positive for the Mets, keeping the right-handed home run hitter. Again, according to Anthony DiComo. The question for New York is how much they're willing to pay him. Perhaps we could see a similar deal to the one Atlanta Braves gave Matt Olson in 2022. Olson signed an 8-year, $168 million deal. With similar ages and 1 year of service time ahead of Alonso, this could be the easiest comparison. All right, I mean, comparing any contract to one the Braves have issued is very tough because the Braves, notorious as well for giving out good value contract and for getting their players to sign under the league average. But, I mean, if Pete wants to take a value contract like 8 years or 168, I can see that as feasible. I think the downside is the Mets probably don't want to sign a contract that long, but the average annual value with $168 million might be something that is too tough to to pass on, because that would mean that he's making a little over $20 million a year, about $21 million a year. For a guy like Pete Alonso, that is historic value. Okay, so as we go on, it's uncertain when the organization is going to fill the GM role, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be in the immediate future. David Stern's already said he's not filling the GM role. It's got way too much stuff to do. Let's see. Okay, so that's all that article really kind of says, and I don't know where these guys get this information. I mean, like Anthony DeComo, like I love his stuff, but to start off an article by saying Alonzo will not be traded this offseason, how do you even start an article like that? How do you even make an affirmation? The offseason didn't even really get underway. We don't know what the heck's going on. David Stern literally just got here 6 weeks ago. There is no way we know what the heck's going on with Alonso. We don't know. The option, in my opinion, is still on the table for him to be traded. Bottom line, that's honest. I know it seemed like in this article, DeComo is catering towards Met fans, that are in love with Pete. Great, yeah. I love Pete too, but I want to be a little realistic with my assertions. Okay. Now, I also want to get into this video about the possibility of Shohei Otani coming to the New York Mets. And I've been teetering back and forth on this. Last year, I thought the possibility of Shohei Otani coming to the Mets was very high. But the Mets had a historic collapse, and they had a season from hell. You can't sugarcoat it. So as the season went on, and as the comments came out that Otani may want to stay on the West Coast and that he does want to play for a winner, I'm like, there is no way that the Mets are going to get Shohei Otani or even be in the running for him. All right. Then at the end of the year, Shohei Otani hurts his arm or hurts his elbow, gets Tommy John surgery. So the pitching version of Shohei Otani doesn't seem like he's going to be available for the next coming year, 2024. So that right there gave new hope to me and gave new hope to a lot of Met fans. So that's a plus towards signing Shohei Otani, because obviously his value, his contract that he was going to be commanding doesn't seem like it would be that high. Also, the risk is going to be higher, so I think that the suitors will be not as high as well. Okay. All right, so that's more indication that there's a possibility that we could sign Shohei Otani. More reason to believe that Shohei Otani could be a New York Met is David Stern. David damn Stern is a new president of the New York Mets, right? He's never had this type of money to deal with, never had these resources to deal with. Okay, now David Stern is a guy who's going to be looking to make a mark on his team, his franchise, looking for that cornerstone piece. David Stern knows more than anybody a talent like Shohei Otani doesn't come around every day. A value that Shohei Otani brings, a type of Cy Young Award pitcher and an MVP hitter, that is extreme value right there. And if you are going to put your name attached to any player in the major leagues, who else other than Shohei Otani would you prefer? Maybe Juan Soto in a year, but I feel that David Stern is going to want to make his mark this year. And who knows? You're going to have to trade for a Juan Soto. You don't know what the value is going to be. And then if you make that big trade and you give up all those pieces, then you still have to sign him. It's easier right now to just sign Shohei Otani and you get two players. And you don't have to give up 5, 6, 7 prospects. Yes, you got to give up a couple draft picks, but it's worth it for Shohei Otani. Okay. All right. So that's why I think that the Mets are going to go hard. Plus, the only other team out there that I think can afford him and that will go after him hard is somebody like the the LA Dodgers. And I think Steve Cohen, if he really wants his man, I don't see him getting beat I don't. Even if he's got to pay $600 million, I don't. Sorry about that. I don't see him getting beat. So those are the reasons why I think that Shohei Otani to the Mets does seem a bit more likely. And then, folks, whoever doesn't feel that's the case, and I know I'm a Met fan, so I'm biased. I admit that. I want you to personally, if you don't think the Mets are a good chance or good finishing spot for Shohei, list all the teams that can afford him and that Shohei would go to. But affording him is a big thing. It really is. I don't see a lot of teams out there. Philly spent a lot of money in the past. The Padres spent a lot of money in the past. I'd really be surprised if they had like $600 million to spend. I know the Padres don't have that. And then other teams like Toronto, who spent a lot of money in the past. Toronto has to pay Guerrero and other teams. I'd be surprised. Maybe the Giants. They still have a lot of money left that they didn't give to a guy like Carlos Correa. It's going to be interesting. It really is. It really is. But that's my quick assessment. I want to give a quick assessment on Pete Alonso and my quick thinking of Shohei Otani before really the offseason really take off. All right, if you're a Met fan, you got to hit the like button. You got to subscribe because we're just getting into the offseason. We're just getting the energy going. I really appreciate you. With Mets in the past, things have gotten worse. Hasn't been too positive. It really hasn't. But we've got a new general manager / president, or I should say president, who's acting as a general manager. Excuse me. But I think there's a lot of hope right now. I think with Steve Cohen's resources, let's be patient. Let's see what a baseball man, a guy who's touted by most executives as a very, very intelligent guy, let's see what he can do for us. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Drop a like, subscribe. With the Mets in the past, it can't get any worse. Probably will. Hopefully, like I said, it won't. Have a great night. Bye.